You know that moment when you pull up to a stoplight and the truck next to you costs more than the house you grew up in. The leather seats, the chrome wheels, the massive grille that looks like it's trying to eat the road, the paint so shiny you could shave in it, and you wonder, how? How does the person behind that wheel afford something that costs more than your annual salary? What do they know that you don't? What secret did they figure out? Here's the truth nobody tells you. They probably can't afford it either, not in any way that matters. Not in any way that builds wealth, not in any way that leads to freedom. Let's talk about something that should bother you more than it does. Something that should keep you up at night if you're thinking about signing your name on one of these loans. The average new car payment in America is now over $700 a month. That's not a guess. That's not an exaggeration. That's the actual number. For trucks and SUVs, it's pushing $1,000. In many cases, it's $1,200 or more. These aren't exotic cars. These aren't luxury vehicles for the ultra-wealthy. These are regular cars, driven by regular people. Teachers, nurses, construction workers, office employees, people who worry about grocery prices, people who check their bank account before buying gas. Here's what doesn't add up. Median household income in America is around $84,000. Let's do some rough math together. If you're spending $1,000 a month on a car payment, that's $12,000 a year, plus insurance, plus gas, plus maintenance, plus repairs. You're looking at easily $15,000 to $18,000 a year just on transportation. That's roughly 18% to 21% of your gross income, before taxes, before housing, before food, before saving for retirement, before anything else. When did it become normal to spend a house payment on something that loses value the second you drive it off the lot? When did we collectively decide that this was acceptable? So how are people doing it? They're not secretly millionaires. They're not crypto billionaires who made their fortune on Dogecoin. They're just making decisions that look smart on the surface but are quietly destroying their ability to build wealth for the next decade or more. Let's start with the most obvious trick in the book, the one that's hiding in plain sight on every dealership lot in America: loan terms. Remember when a car loan was 3 years? Maybe 4 if you were stretching your budget? Those days are as dead as the VHS tape. Today, 6- and 7-year loans are standard. 8-year loans are common. Some lenders are pushing 10 years. 10-year car loans. Think about that for a second. You could have a child born today, and that child would be in 4th grade by the time you finish paying off your truck. You could start and finish a mortgage in less time. Here's why this matters. A $60,000 truck over 4 years costs about $1,500 a month. Same truck over 8 years costs about $800 a month. The monthly number looks reasonable. The buyer signs. They drive home feeling smart. They got the payment down. They made it work. They pat themselves on the back for being financially savvy. But here's what they didn't calculate. What they didn't see while they were sitting in the dealership smelling that new car scent, imagining themselves behind the wheel. Over 4 years, that truck costs about $72,000 total. Over 8 years, it costs about $86,400 total. That's $14,400 more. For the exact same truck, the same engine, the same seats, the same cup holders. You're paying an extra $14,400 just to have a lower monthly bill. That's not saving money. That's paying a premium for the privilege of paying slower. That's like celebrating that your mortgage will only cost $2,000 a month when you're actually paying it for 50 years instead of 30. And it gets worse. Much worse. Cars lose value fast. They depreciate. The moment you drive off the lot, you've lost thousands. After 5 years, that $60,000 truck is worth maybe $20,000. Maybe less if it has high mileage or any damage. But if you took an 8-year loan, after 5 years, you still owe about $30,000. You're underwater. You owe more than the truck is worth. You can't sell it without bringing cash to the table. You can't trade it without rolling that debt into your next loan. You're trapped. And the only way out is to do exactly what the dealer wants you to do. Roll that negative equity into a new loan, which brings us to the second part of the trap. This brings us to the second part of the trap, the trade-in cycle. And this is where things go from bad to catastrophic. Here's how it usually goes. You buy a new car, you finance it for 6 or 7 years. 3 or 4 years later, you're bored with it. Or your neighbor got something nicer, or you saw an ad for the new model, or you just want to change. You go to the dealership. They're happy to see you. They welcome you back like an old friend. They tell you they can get you into something new, something better, something that fits your lifestyle. But there's a problem. You still owe more than your current car is worth. That's negative equity, and it's growing. The dealer has a solution. A beautiful solution. They take that $7,000 of negative equity and add it to the new loan. You're now financing $7,000 of debt from a car you no longer own, plus the cost of the new car. You drive away happy. You got the new car. The payment is only a little higher. The new car smell fills your nostrils. You feel good. You feel successful. You feel like you made the right call. What you just did is called rolling negative equity, and it's the financial equivalent of using a credit card to pay off a credit card. You're not solving the problem. You're just moving it around and making it bigger. Do this 2 or 3 times, and suddenly you owe $50,000 on a car worth $35,000. Your payment is huge. Your options are gone. You can't get out without writing a check for thousands of dollars you don't have. I've seen people go through this cycle 4 or 5 times. Each time, their loan balance goes up, their payment goes up, the length of their loan goes up, and they own less and less. One person I know started with a $25,000 sedan. 5 years later, after 2 trades, he owed $55,000 on a truck that was worth $40,000. He was paying $900 a month just to keep driving, and he couldn't get off the ride. He was stuck. The dealer loves this. They've created a customer for life. Someone trapped in the cycle can't leave. Every time they try to escape, they just dig deeper. They're like a fly caught in a web. The more they struggle, the more tangled they become. Now let's talk about what happens to your life when you make one of these payments. Because the payment itself is just the beginning. It's the visible part of an iceberg that's about to sink your financial ship. I've seen people restructure their entire existence around a car payment. They make choices that would seem insane in any other context, all to keep that shiny vehicle in their driveway. They move to smaller apartments. They stay with roommates long after they thought they would. They live in neighborhoods they wouldn't have chosen, all so they can afford the monthly payment on something that spends most of its time parked in their driveway, not moving. They skip vacations. Every year, their kids ask why they never go anywhere. They make up excuses. They say they're saving for something big, but they're not. They're just making the payment. They eat cheaper food, ramen noodles, canned vegetables, the store brand everything. They avoid restaurants. They say they prefer cooking at home, but they don't. They just can't afford the $50 dinner. Some people take second jobs specifically to cover their car expenses. They deliver food on weekends. They drive for rideshare companies in the evenings, using their expensive vehicle to earn the money to pay for their expensive vehicle. It's like getting a second job to pay for a gym membership you use to get in shape for your second job. The logic is circular. The outcome is exhaustion. You're running in place, getting nowhere, and paying for the privilege. Others raid their retirement accounts. They take loans against their 401k. They cash out savings they spent years building. They tell themselves it's okay. They'll make it up later. They never do. Here's the math they don't do. The math that keeps me up at night when I think about these decisions. Every dollar you take out of a retirement account early doesn't just cost you that dollar. It costs you decades of compound growth. That $10,000 withdrawal today could be $50,000 or $60,000 or even $100,000 by the time you retire. You're not just spending $10,000. You're spending $100,000 of future freedom. You're trading a comfortable retirement for a shiny present. And the shine fades. The future doesn't. But here's where the trap gets really dangerous. It's rarely just one car. It's rarely just one mistake. The average American household now owns more cars than licensed drivers. Think about that for a second. More vehicles than people who can legally drive them. The math is absurd. The reality is terrifying. Dad has his truck. Mom has her SUV. There's a third vehicle for the teenager or for weekends. Sometimes a fourth for just in case. Sometimes a fifth because why not? Suddenly, we're not talking about one car payment. We're talking about $2,000 a month. Every month. For transportation. For vehicles that spend 23 hours a day sitting in the driveway. That's more than many people pay for housing. That's more than some people earn in a month. That's more than the annual tuition at many colleges. And it's all going to things that lose value the moment they're driven. You've essentially created a small business, except the business doesn't make money. It loses money every day. The inventory gets cheaper over time. The overhead keeps going up, and you're the only employee. Families managing multiple car payments become experts at financial gymnastics. They juggle due dates. They prioritize which payment to make if they're short. They celebrate paying off one loan while taking on 2 more. I've seen people throw parties when they make the final payment on their truck. Meanwhile, they just signed papers for their wife's new SUV the week before. The net debt didn't change, but they felt like they accomplished something. They measure success by their ability to keep all the plates spinning. They never stop to ask whether the plates need to be spinning at all, whether there's a better way, whether they could just stop. Let's talk about the costs that don't show up on the window sticker, the costs the dealer doesn't mention while you're falling in love with that new car smell, because the monthly payment is just the cover charge. The real expenses come after. Insurance on a $60,000 vehicle is not the same as insurance on a $20,000 vehicle. It's not even close. Comprehensive coverage, collision coverage, gap insurance if you're smart, uninsured motorist coverage because people without insurance exist. You're looking at $200 to $300 a month, sometimes more, sometimes much more. That's $3,000 a year just for insurance, just to legally drive the thing. That money doesn't build equity. It doesn't come back to you. It's gone. Fuel. A modern truck gets maybe 15 to 20 miles per gallon in real-world driving. Not the highway numbers on the sticker. The actual numbers. If you have a normal commute of 30 miles each way, that's $300 to $400 a month. More if you drive anywhere else. More if gas prices go up. Maintenance. Modern vehicles are complicated. They have computers, they have sensors, they have emission systems, they have transmissions that cost $5,000 to replace. When something breaks, it breaks expensively. A brake job on a truck can be $1,000. A set of tires, $1,200. Transmission work, $5,000. Engine problems, $10,000 or more. People making extreme car payments rarely have emergency funds for these repairs. They spend everything on the payment. So when something breaks, it goes on a credit card. That credit card grows. The debt spiral continues. The interest compounds. You know what's a great way to build wealth? Not spending $10,000 on transmission repairs for a vehicle you're already paying $800 a month for. That's not an investment. That's a money pit. Let's run the real numbers on a typical scenario. Because numbers don't lie. They don't have feelings. They don't care about your dream truck. A $55,000 truck, 7-year loan at 6%, monthly payment about $800. Over 7 years, that's $67,200. Add insurance at $250 a month for 7 years. That's $21,000. Add fuel at $350 a month. That's $29,400. Add maintenance, a conservative estimate of $14,000 over 7 years. Total, $131,600. That's $131,600 over 7 years, for a vehicle that at the end of those 7 years is worth maybe $15,000. Maybe $10,000 if it has high mileage. You've spent $131,600 to own something worth $15,000. That's not transportation. That's wealth destruction with heated seats and a backup camera. Now let's do the depressing math. The math that keeps financial advisors up at night. The math that should keep you up at night if you're considering one of these loans. What could that same money have done if it had been invested instead? If it had been put to work building your future rather than sitting in a driveway? If you took that $800 monthly payment and put it into a simple index fund earning 8% annually, after 7 years, you'd have over $90,000. Not a truck worth $15,000, $90,000. If you invested the full $1,400 a month that this person spends on payment, insurance, and fuel, you'd have over $160,000 after 7 years. Over 15 years, that $1,400 a month invested could grow to over $400,000. Over 25 years, it could grow to over $800,000, almost $1 million. That's the real cost of that shiny truck in your driveway. It's not the payment. It's not the insurance. It's not the gas. It's the $1 million you're not building while you're making those payments. You're trading a comfortable retirement for a vehicle that will be in a scrapyard before you're eligible for Social Security. You're trading freedom for chrome. And here's the part that makes this so hard to break. Once you're in, you're emotionally committed. You've made the sacrifice. You've taken the second job. You've eaten the cheap food. You've explained to your kids why there's no vacation this year. You can't admit that it was a mistake. So you defend it. You tell yourself you deserve it. You tell yourself you work hard. You tell yourself reliability is important. You tell yourself you need it for work. All of that might be true, but it doesn't change the math. The math doesn't care about your feelings. The math just sits there, quietly, waiting for you to notice. Let's talk about why people make these decisions. Because it's not about transportation. It's never been about transportation. If it were about transportation, we'd all be driving 10-year-old Corollas. The automotive industry doesn't sell cars anymore. They sell identities. They sell dreams. They sell the person you want to become. That commercial with the truck climbing a mountain, it's not selling you a vehicle. It's selling you the idea that you're the kind of person who climbs mountains, the kind of person who's adventurous, the kind of person who's capable. They sell status. They sell success. They sell the idea that your vehicle says something about who you are as a person. If you're driving something impressive, you must be impressive. If you're driving something ordinary, what does that say about you? They've convinced millions of people that their car is a billboard for their self-worth. And people are willing to go into debt to advertise. They're willing to sacrifice their future to project an image in the present. Your car is not a billboard for your success. It's transportation. It gets you from one place to another. That's it. The people who matter in your life don't care what you drive. The people who care what you drive don't matter. This emotional manipulation makes it easier to justify payments that would otherwise seem insane. When you're not just buying a truck, but buying into an identity, suddenly that $900 payment feels like an investment in yourself rather than a financial mistake. The dealerships know this. They've studied it. They've spent millions researching exactly how to trigger these emotions. The sales process is designed to reinforce these feelings. They don't talk about total cost of ownership. They don't talk about opportunity cost. They talk about what you deserve, what you've earned, what kind of person you are. And people sign, because saying no feels like saying you're not successful enough. And nobody wants to admit that. Nobody wants to be the person who couldn't afford the thing everyone else seems to have. Let's lock this in with a quick recap before we get to the solution. Because the numbers are important, the patterns are important, but remembering them is what will save you when you're sitting in that dealership. 1. Long loan terms make the monthly payment look reasonable while adding thousands to the total cost. An 8-year loan costs $14,400 more than a 4-year loan on the same vehicle. That's not a payment plan. That's a markup. 2. Rolling negative equity from one loan to the next creates a debt snowball that grows over time. You end up paying for cars you no longer own. You're financing memories, not transportation. 3. The real monthly cost isn't just the payment. Add insurance, fuel, and maintenance, and you're looking at $1,200 to $1,500 a month for a typical truck. That's $15,000 to $18,000 a year, every year. 4. Over 7 years, that adds up to over $130,000 spent on a vehicle worth $15,000 at the end. That's not transportation. That's wealth destruction with cup holders and heated seats. 5. The same money invested over time could grow into hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're not just buying a car, you're trading your future for it. You're choosing today over tomorrow. So what do you do if you're in this trap? Or what do you do to avoid it? Because awareness without action is just guilt. And guilt doesn't build wealth. First, stop looking at the monthly payment. That's the distraction. That's the trick. That's what they want you to focus on because it's small and manageable. Look at the total cost. Look at what you'll pay over the life of the loan. Look at what that money could do somewhere else. Second, stop treating your car as an extension of your identity. It's transportation. It gets you from one place to another. That's it. You're not more successful because your car is shiny. You're not less successful because it's old. The person who drives a 10-year-old Toyota and has a growing investment account is richer than the person who drives a new truck and has nothing saved. Every time, without exception. Would you rather impress strangers at a stoplight or have financial freedom? You can't have both. Choose. Third, break the negative equity cycle. If you're underwater on your current vehicle, stop trading. I know it's hard. I know you want something newer. But stop. Keep it. Pay it down. Drive it until the loan is paid off. Then keep driving it. The most expensive car you'll ever own is the one you keep trading in every few years. The cheapest car you'll ever own is the one you keep for a decade after it's paid off. Fourth, if you're shopping for a car, buy used. Let someone else take the depreciation hit. A 3-year-old vehicle is often 30 to 40% cheaper than new, with most of its useful life still ahead. Let the first owner pay for that new car smell. Fifth, pay cash if you can. I know that's not possible for everyone, but if you can, do it. If you can't, put down as much as you can. Keep the loan term as short as you can afford. 3 years, 4 years, not 7, not 8, not 10. Sixth, do the math on what you're actually spending, not just the payment. Everything. Insurance, fuel, maintenance, repairs added up. Look at the total. Ask yourself if that's really how you want to spend your money. Seventh, give yourself permission to drive a normal car. There's no shame in it. There's no failure in it. There's freedom in it. The people who matter won't care. The people who care don't matter. The next time you see someone driving a vehicle that costs more than your rent, remember what you learned today. They're probably eating cereal for dinner to afford it. They're probably working weekends to keep the payment going. They're probably trading their future for that feeling of success. And maybe, just maybe, The reliable used car in your driveway isn't looking so bad after all. Maybe the peace of mind you have at night is worth more than the fleeting thrill of a new car smell. Real wealth isn't about what you drive. It's about what you can afford to do when life happens. It's about the freedom to say no to a job you hate. It's about the ability to handle an emergency without panic. It's about sleeping through the night without anxiety about next month's payment. Your car doesn't define you. Your choices do. And the choice to drive what you can afford while building something real is the choice that leads to freedom. If this video helped you see through the illusion, hit that like button. It helps more people find it. And subscribe if you want more videos about the real math of money, not what the industry wants you to believe. What actually works for real people. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me, what's the most expensive car payment you've ever had? Did you stretch for it? Do you regret it? What would you do differently now if you could go back? Or if you've never made that mistake, tell us what keeps you grounded. What stops you from signing that loan? Is it a story? A lesson you learned? A goal you're working toward? Be honest. Be specific. Let's fill the comments with real stories. Maybe your story will help someone else avoid the same trap. I read them. I'll be in there. Let's figure this out together. Thanks for watching. Drive what you can afford. Build what you can keep. See you in the next one.